The weather has defeated us, and so unfortunately for the first time in 7 weeks I need to introduce TED Words of Hope from inside. Much needed rain falling outdoors in our garden. Well, indoors I guess, and away from friends and family members is where we are spending a lot of our time. And this really struck home to me when my wife was teaching children's Sabbath school via Zoom, and when it came to the end of the lesson time and we were saying goodbye, those little children, all they wanted to do was wave at the friends, say hello to their friends. It took us 5 minutes or more just to say goodbye because they wanted that community, they wanted that fellowship. That was the most important thing to them. Newbold Principal John Baildam reminded me of the advice of the former mayor of Chicago, Rahm Emanuel, that he gave to Barack Obama's chief of staff. Never allow a good crisis to go to waste. It's an opportunity to do the things that you once thought were impossible. The crisis has certainly provided innovation across the TED, as we'll hear from Daniel Duda, our Education Director, and then from Helgi Jónsson, our Health Ministries Director, who's got a little bit of a lockdown challenge for us. But first, from Deana Stojković, who gives a parent's perspective to life in lockdown.
It's tough being a parent in lockdown. Suddenly you are working from home, but not only do you have your job to do, but with schools and even playgrounds closed, you become both teacher and the chief source of creative entertainment. So I'm really glad for my church to both provide resources and involve children in worship. Churches like one in Niš in southeastern Serbia, where Pathfinders created online music for worship. Children also took an active part in the worship service.
Drugari, zdravo! Opšte je poznato da smo mi, deca, najposlušniji deo populacije.
Puppets seem to have become an attractive way of enhancing children's stories, or the use of software to enhance what the preacher is saying. Some children have taken it further. Vasil is the son of Sweden's Aldrain Gathering coordinator Svetlana. To help reduce her children's anxiety regarding COVID-19, they decided to plant food on their balcony. Vasil then turned their mini garden into a video project. Pathfinders and adventurers are crossing country boundaries to learn online together. In the British Union Conference, online honours are taught every weekend, reaching up to 500 children in live broadcasts from 20 to 25 countries. While in Dublin, Ireland, children continue to receive a letter from God and craft activities in the post each week. With restrictions starting to slowly ease in some countries, Vejlefield High School in Denmark has reopened to some pupils with proper social distancing and increased spacing in classrooms. But today, we would like to salute all parents for the extra care they're giving. Also to teachers, Sabbath school leaders, pastors, elders and IT experts who are going out of their way to provide resources and keep church online interesting. On behalf of all our children, we thank you.
Thank you, Deana, and having heard those words on education, let's go straight to our Education Director, Daniel Duda, before we head over to Helgi, who is insistent that we shouldn't waste this crisis, but that we should use it to learn lessons and, more importantly, seek ways to change our church, to do our church better.
Because of the coronavirus pandemics, most of our primary and secondary schools are in homeschooling mode. And somebody jokingly remarked that if schools continue being closed down, then the parents will come up with the vaccine sooner than the scientists. I am proud of all that our schools are doing and continue doing in this process when the education is not easy. The lack of proper equipment in families where both the father and mother have to work from home and their two children need to do their schoolwork on those devices, it's a problem even in our part of the world. And that's not to mention that many families simply do not have those devices or cannot afford buying them. Our 5 colleges continue the work of education online, teaching through Zoom or other platforms. And thus the work of education continues, from Norway to Serbia, from Iceland to Hungary. Life-changing education is being delivered in our schools on all levels. Remember, a mind is like a parachute. Once opened, it cannot go back to its original size. And that's why education is still the best way to change the world.
We are living strange times, don't we? The world has changed more in these past few months than any of us could have imagined. Many people are just confined to the 4 walls of their homes. And many people have lost their jobs. But more importantly, many people have lost their loved ones. It's a time to reflect. It's a time to think about what really matters in life. Is it the new iPhone that's just been released? Or is it something else? I think most of us would say it's something else. Most people are not longing for a new iPhone. They're longing for good health, or they're longing for meeting their loved ones. They're longing for being with friends and family. They're longing for a hug. They want to give a hug. I met a guy in a store yesterday, and he said to me, "I hope the world is never going back to what it was like. I hope we will stop this fast pacing and this stress and all this maybe useless leisure travels many times a year. It's probably going to change the world, although we don't know exactly how. And maybe it's just good that we don't know how. But how is it going to change your church? Will your church be the same after COVID-19? The church is changed now already. We're not meeting one another anymore. We are just meeting online. There are few people maybe at the church, but then the rest of us are just sitting home and we are watching it streamed on YouTube. Or we're participating in Zoom Sabbath school groups. But what will it be like after COVID-19? How do you want it to be? Because you can influence it. You can impact it. Do you want your church to be different after COVID-19? Based on what you've realized is of true value? Jesus said, and I read from John chapter 13, "A new command I give you, love one another. As I have loved you, so you must love one another. By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples if you love one another." Everyone will know. Because a community like that isn't that usual. Unconditioned love or unconditional love isn't that common. Did you know that a loving, caring community makes for a learning community? It's a biological thing. It's difficult or even impossible to learn when you are highly stressed. When you are in a community where you're constantly on the outlook for something bad that might happen. A community of distrust is not a learning community. As the Father has loved me, so I have loved you. Now remain in my love. If you keep my commands, also the new one, you will remain in my love, just as I have kept my Father's commands and remain in his love. God's commands are reflective of his love. I hope that our churches will become even more loving than they were before COVID-19. I hope that our churches will become places where people are respected, even if they have different opinions on different matters. The church would still be a place where we can come together with our dignity intact. A place where everyone will feel safe, where new people can come in and they will instantly feel safe and loved. We can decide. What kind of church do you want post-COVID?